Another senseless murder of another teenager in London, the 16th this year, 15 only, killed in her school uniform, bleeding to death in front of her school friends, having just got off the school bus. Absolutely shocking, or is it? Not really, because last year there were 30 teenagers murdered in London. 27 of them were stabbed to death. In fact, knife crime is now at its highest level since records began 77 years ago. And an interesting figure, up 34% since 2010. And I mention that figure for good reason, because back in 2010, we used to take stop and search really seriously. Back in 2010, before Theresa May became Home Secretary and wrecked modern policing, let's not even start on the fact she got rid of 20,000 Metropolitan Police officers. Back in 2010, the number of people stopped and searched worked out at 25 for every 1,000 of us. 25. Now the figure is under 9. Extraordinary, isn't it? And yet at the same time, we've had this dramatic and shocking increase in knife crime. I'm sorry, the two issues are related. We need to do more stop and search. Theresa May, in her infinite wisdom, or should I say in her infinite stupidity when she was Home Secretary, told the Police Federation they had to reduce stop and search because of the disproportionate effect it was having on certain communities. She couldn't quite bring herself to say what she really meant. What she meant was, particularly in London, the disproportionate effect was on the black community. Well, that's because I'm afraid there is a serious issue with knife crime in the black community, which is why stop and search proportionately, even though it's far too low in my view, is proportionately higher in the black community. But not only the black community in the country, in fact one of the highest areas for stop and search in this country is in Liverpool, in Merseyside, and that is predominantly amongst the white community. But what we need now are politicians to be courageous. Not that we're going to get that from Sadiq Khan, the Mayor of London. He's too busy grandstanding, isn't he, with his chums about HS2, or grandstanding about global warming, flying off to New York as he did last week to talk about climate change, or as he did a couple of years ago, Buenos Aires to talk about climate change. Never heard of Zoom, Mr. Mayor. He is our Police and Crime Commissioner, and he has seen the dramatic fall in stop and search in this capital city, and he has seen a dramatic increase in knife crime in this capital city. It's really disturbing. And while we're at it, can we have zero tolerance if someone is caught with a knife or a gun? I was talking to the Tory MP Esther McVeigh, and she said this: the trouble is, so many young men who are caught in possession of a knife are not given a custodial sentence. Oh no, we've got to give them another chance. Let them off with a caution. Let them off with a suspended sentence. Let them off with some community service order, and they can continue to get hold of knives. I'm sorry, we've got to take this really seriously. It's not just prevention, but also we've got to really crack down on people caught with knives. It should be total zero tolerance. You're caught with a knife, you're getting a criminal record. What happened to that 15-year-old girl yesterday is every parent's nightmare. You wave your kid off to school, looking smart in their school uniform, and then you get a phone call saying they're bleeding to death in the street. Appalling and shocking. We can't avoid all of them. What I'm saying is we can avoid some by having a massive increase in stop and search. And if the Liberal lot start whinging and complaining, let them. It's not their children who are being murdered. It's not their children who are being maimed and stabbed. We've got to try to get to grips with this, because at the moment it seems to me we've lost the battle for control of our streets. The Home Secretary we've got now, Suella Braverman, well, she's pretty brave, isn't she? And she's pretty feisty, and I know what side of the argument she's on this, because I've talked to her about it in the past. So let's hear some positive noise. More stop and search, and I suspect then we'll have fewer appalling tragedies of the 15-year-old schoolgirl stabbed to death in South London. What do you think? And if you are from the black community, are we being unfair? Are we singling you out if we stop you for stop and search? Is that unfair? I'm sorry, I think we've got to do it. We can't take any more risks. These are your kids and our kids. What do you think? Comment below, give us your reaction.